Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB from the UPSC CSC prelims perspective. Displayed are the list of articles which we are going to discuss in today's video. The first article of the day says that the Kerala Health Department has reported second case of Mpox on Friday. In this context, let us talk about Mpox. See, Mpox, previously known as monkeypox, is a zoonotic viral disease with symptoms similar to smallpox, though less severe. Know that it typically resolves on its own within 2 to 4 weeks. But notably, severe cases are more common in children and depend on the factors such as virus exposure, patient health, and complications. If we have to talk about its transmission, it transmits through prolonged close contact with an infected person or direct contact with body fluids, lesion material, or contaminated items like clothing or linens. Furthermore, there are 3 stages to it, which are incubation, prodrome, and rash. See, firstly, the incubation period for Mpox, which is the time from the infection to the onset of the symptoms, typically ranges from 6 to 13 days but can extend from 5 to 21 days. Know that the individuals are not contagious during this period. Then the prodrome phase is characterized by symptoms including fever, headache, muscle and body aches, malaise, chills, sore throat, lymphadenopathy, and cough. Lastly, the skin involvement, which features lesions that develop simultaneously and evolve together on affected body parts. Know that these lesions progress through 4 stages, which are macular, papular, vesicular, and pustular. Then moving on to talk about its prevention, it is primarily focused on raising awareness about risk factors and educating people on reducing exposure to the virus. Some of the other key preventive measures include avoid contact with materials in contact with infected individuals, isolating infected patients from others, practicing good hand hygiene such as washing hands with soap and water, or using alcohol-based hand sanitizers, especially after contact with infected animals or humans. Next, using appropriate personal protective equipment when caring for patients. Then properly containing and disposing of contaminated waste under biomedical waste management guidelines for infectious waste. The second article of the day says that the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer joined the leaders of the US and France in backing India's bid for a permanent seat on the UNSC to make it a more representative body that is not paralyzed by politics. In this context, let us talk about UNSC. See, the United Nations Security Council is one of the 5 principal organizations of the United Nations responsible for maintaining international peace and security. Know that UNSC resolutions are binding on all member states. Established on 17 January 1946, the UNSC includes 5 permanent members, the United States, the Russian Federation, the United Kingdom, China, and France, who hold veto power, and 10 elected non-permanent members elected for 2-year terms by the General Assembly. Furthermore, the situations that may cause a threat to peace and security, the UNSC first action is to recommend the parties involved try to reach an agreement by peaceful means. Notably, the Council may issue ceasefire directives, deploy peacekeeping forces, or take other measures such as imposing economic sanctions, trade embargoes, or authorizing military action. Also, the Security Council fosters negotiations, imposes sanctions, and authorizes the use of force, including the deployment of peacekeeping missions. The third article of the day says that the Goods and Services Tax Council has set up a 10-member group of ministers chaired by Minister of the State for Finance to decide on the taxation of luxury, sin, and demerit goods once the compensation cess ends in March 2026. In this context, let us talk about GST Council. See, the GST Council is a constitutional body responsible for making recommendations on issues related to the implementation of the goods and services tax in India. Know that it was set up to simplify the existing tax structure in India, where both the centre and states levied multiple taxes, making it more uniform across the country. Note that the 101st Amendment Act of 2016 paved the way for the introduction of GST. So the Amendment Act inserted a new article, which is the Article 279A in the Constitution, which empowers the President to constitute a GST Council or by an order. Now, talking about its members, see, the members of the Council include the Union Finance Minister, the Union Minister of the State from the Centre. Furthermore, each state can nominate a member in charge of finance or taxation or any other minister as a member. Next, talking about how the voting is done, See, the GST Council reaches the decisions in the meetings by a majority of at least 3/4 of the weighted votes of the members present and voting. Notably, a quorum of 50% of total members is required to conduct a meeting. Furthermore, the central government's vote carries a weightage of 1/3 of the total votes cast in a meeting. Then the votes of all state governments combined have a weightage of 2/3 of the total votes cast. Significantly, the GST Council is required to make recommendations to the centre and the states on the following matters. Firstly, the taxes, cesses, and surcharges levied by the centre, the states, and the local bodies would get subsumed into GST. Secondly, the goods and services that may be subjected to or exempted from GST. Thirdly, the model GST laws, principles of levy, apportionment of GST levied on supplies in the course of interstate trade or commerce, and the principles that govern the place of supply. Then, the threshold limit of turnover, below which the goods and services may be exempted from GST. Next, any special rate or rates for a specified period to raise additional resources during any natural calamity or disaster. And lastly, recommending a date on which the GST may be levied on petrol crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel. The next article says that the food delivery and quick commerce firm Swiggy Limited filed a draft red herring prospectus for an initial public offering. In this context, let us talk about SEBI and then see about the IPO. See, SEBI is a statutory body and regulator of the securities market in India. Moreover, its main role is to protect investor interests, promote and regulate the securities market. See, SEBI was initially established in 1988 as a non-statutory body, but gained a statutory status through the SEBI Act of 1992. If we have to look at the key functions, firstly, SEBI controls the activities of stock exchanges in India. Secondly, it safeguards the rights of investors and ensures their investments are protected. Thirdly, SEBI regulates stock market activities to prevent fraud, ensuring fair market practices. And lastly, it provides educational resources to investors to enhance their knowledge of market operations. What about its powers? See, it enforces rules and regulations to harmonize the statutory regulations and ensure that the professional functioning of intermediaries. And then the SEBI can investigate market malpractices and take action against the offenders. If we look at the SEBI's composition, see, the board consists of a chairperson who is to be nominated by the union government and other members, including the representatives from the Finance Ministry and the Reserve Bank of India. Know that the headquarters is in Mumbai with the regional offices in Ahmedabad, Kolkata, Chennai, and Delhi. Then there is something called the Securities Appellate Tribunal. See, the SAT is a separate body established to hear the appeals from entities aggrieved by SEBI's decisions. Know that it consists of a presiding officer and 2 other members. Next, what is an IPO? See, an IPO is an initial public offering in which shares of a private company are made available to the public for the first time. Know that an IPO allows a company to raise equity capital from public investors. Furthermore, the transition from a private to a public company can be an important time for private investors to fully realize the gains from their investment, as it typically includes a share premium for the current private investors. Meanwhile, it also allows public investors to participate in the offering. The next article says that the Karnataka Lokayukta police on Friday booked Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and 3 others on the charges of corruption, cheating and forgery in connection with the allotment of 14 MUDA housing sites to the CM's wife in the 2021. In this context, let us talk about Lokayukta. See, the Lokpal is a central level anti-corruption body, whereas Lokayukta is the state level counterpart to be established by the state legislatures within the 365 days of the Act. Now, let us look at some of the key features of Lokayukta. Firstly, with respect to the structure, see, Lokayuktas generally consist of a chairperson who is often a retired judge of the High Court or Supreme Court and other members with expertise in anti-corruption, public administration or public service. Know that the chairperson and the members are selected through the processes defined by the state legislatures. Then, talking about the jurisdiction, notably Lokayuktas have the authority to investigate complaints against state public officials, including the ministers, members of legislative assemblies and other officials. So, they can inquire into allegations of corruption, abuse of power and maladministration. However, certain high-ranking officials like the governor may be outside their jurisdiction depending on the state's specific law. Lastly, if you have to know about their powers, see, Lokayuktas have powers similar to a civil court. So they can summon officials, conduct inquiries and recommend disciplinary actions or criminal investigations. Furthermore, They often work with agencies like the state vigilance bodies or the anti-corruption bureaus to conduct investigations. The next article says that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met with his BRICS counterparts to affirm its role in a multipolar world. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. In this context, let us talk about BRICS. See, BRICS is an acronym for the grouping of the world's leading emerging economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. If we have to talk about the formation of BRICS, see, the grouping was first informally formed during a meeting of the leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China on the sidelines of G8 Outreach Summit in St. Petersburg of Russia in the year 2006. Later, this was formalized during the first BRIC Foreign Ministers meeting in New York in 2006. Then in 2009, the inaugural BRIC Summit took place in Russia. Next, in the following year of 2010, South Africa joined them to form a group known as the BRICS. Notably, during the 6th BRIC Summit in the Fortaleza of 2014, the leaders signed the agreement establishing the new development bank. What about the funding structure? See, the currently two entities make up the financial architecture of BRICS, namely the New Development Bank and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement. Significantly, the group was designed to bring together the world's most developing countries to challenge the political and economic power of the wealthier nations of North America and Western Europe. Know that the Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates were invited to become members with effect from 1st January of 2024. The last article says that the inauguration of the Param Rudra supercomputer at SN Bose National Center for Basic Sciences in Kolkata by the Prime Minister brings a high-performance computing facilities to Eastern region, benefiting around 10 to 12 institutions and thousands of researchers working in this region. In this context, let us talk about National Supercomputing Mission. See, the NSM initiated by India aims to build a supercomputing infrastructure that caters to the increasing computational demands of academia, research institutions, MSMEs, and startups. Know that it is a joint effort of the Department of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, implemented by the Center of Development of the Advanced Computing and the Indian Institute of Science. If you have to look at the objectives of the mission, firstly, NSM plans to install supercomputers in academic and R&D institutions, enabling high research and development in domains such as climate modeling, weather prediction, aerospace computational biology, and national security. Secondly, the mission aspires to make India a global leader in supercomputing by providing state-of-the-art infrastructure to researchers. Thirdly, minimizing duplication of supercomputing resources by building a coordinated framework across the country. Lastly, to achieve self-reliance in the development of high-performance computing technology, including indigenous innovations like the Rudra server platform and Trinetra high-speed interconnects. Then if we have to look at the key installations, see, the mission follows a buy-to-build approach with initial systems being imported and progressively transitioning towards indigenous assembly. Notably, the first indigenously assembled computer, Param Shivai, was installed at IIT BHU in Varanasi. As of March 2023, 24.83 petaflops of computing power have been commissioned across several institutions, with plans to increase this to 66 petaflops. What about the achievements under the mission? See, the mission successfully trained over 17,500 personnel in HPC. Significantly, more than 5930 expert users across 100 institutions regularly use the supercomputing facilities. Furthermore, know that the NSM supports applications in a wide range of areas, including seismic analysis, disaster simulations, nanomaterials, and big data analysis. So, in this video, we have talked about 7 articles in total for today. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.